Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Hansen, and I do unbelievable things with microphones because I'm a ring announcer and cage announcer, and I'm joined this week, as I always am, by my two friends who bring MMA punditry to new heights, dare I say. Introducing to you first, from New York, the man in the hat, Mark Priaulx. What's up, bud?
What up, people? How's everybody doing? Crazy day for me. Missed my train. Had to get another train. Tried to order food while I waited for dinner. Then the food was not ready by the time the next train was leaving, and I had to leave the food that I already paid for.
Oh, fuck.
And rush to the train. So then I drove here, and I stopped at Carvel, and I got this for dinner, and it was fucking delicious. But I might be sick in the middle of the show because it was enormous.
Did you go straight here from work?
I ran home real quick to be able to put my kids to bed.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Hey, how was your Father's Day?
This new job is killing me. I was very spoiled for 5 years of parenthood in that I was home at like 5:30 every day, and I got to spend so much time with them. And now it is not happening. And
hopefully it'll level out, though.
Yeah.
Real quick, how was Father's Day?
It was good. It was we actually had a combo Father's Day and birthday. Because Dean turned 2, so
that's
it was
right.
He turned 2 on the Friday, so we just did a party. We had my family and Terrence's family, and we just kind of did like a Father's Day / birthday deal at my parents' house.
Man. That's cool.
Yeah.
It was just me and my kid on Father's Day, just the two of us. My wife was at work or had like a conference or something on the weekend, and my kid, his own teeth are trying to murder him from the inside of his mouth, and so he's just been pretty miserable. So it was just me and him for the day, but it was good.
Did it make it special for you?
It did. It did. Him, kind of missing his naps because of the pain it was great for all of us.
Wow, that sounds stupendous.
But before we started recording, Mark, before you joined the call, I looked up that Omar missed on June 17th was Cat Dad Day.
Oh,
indeed.
I'm a cat dad as well. I have.
That's right. That's right. That being said, let me introduce officially from Florida, the Sunshine State, he is the Nicaraguan nightmare, Omar Artola. What's up, my friend?
Also, Cat Dad, thank you for your well wishes. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, what's going on, boys? Another crazy ass weekend of fights.
Yes.
Still coming down off of that. Pretty wild. And I got to say, it is starting to hit me that next week, this time, no.
Oh, yeah?
As of the publishing of this, when you hear this, this time next week, I will be in Vegas.
That's right. I totally forgot.
I
forgot too.
The wife and I will be on a plane, headed over there. I'm ready to go.
That's
cool.
going to be awesome.
That's really cool.
Real quick, before I forget, does my mic sound normal?
I did check your mic before we started, and it is not your computer mic. It is the one you have plugged in.
All right, good, because last week was problematic. Also, before we start, I would like to shout out our boy, Tommy O'Neill, from Boxing, because he drew this with his hands.
That is amazing.
And sent it to me in the mail. So that is officially our first show art.
Fan art.
It will be on display. I can't put it here because then it gets blinded like my face does if I don't want to have it. So it's going to go underneath so we can sort of kind of see it.
Nice.
So what we've learned from this is that Mark's color is exactly the same as the canvas.
That's paper.
It.
Yep.
just blown out the exact same way.
Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, shout out to Tommy.
Shout out to Tommy. If you haven't heard of Tommy yet through us, if you're new to us, then head over to Tommy's channel as well. On YouTube, you can find him at Boxing, so MMM Boxing. He does amazing breakdowns and analysis in the world of boxing. So we're holding it down with MMA, but if you want to dive deep in boxing, you head over to Tommy's channel, Boxing. Shout out to Tommy also for getting my hopes up for Joe Smith Jr. this past weekend. This is not going to be part of our episode tonight, but I was so excited to watch Joe Smith Jr. try to unify the light heavyweight titles with Artur Beterbiev, but Beterbiev flattened him in under 2 rounds and knocked him down and 4 times over the course of 4 minutes of fighting. It was a rough night for Joe Smith Jr. And, if you want,
he didn't seem to come with the smartest strategy in that fight. Kind of did the direct opposite of what people thought he had to do.
It seems like he got his bell rung and then just bit down on his mouthpiece and was like, I need to just go right at this guy. And
Maybe.
that turned out to be the worst thing to do against a man who is made out of steel.
Yes.
Out of Russian steel.
Yes.
If you want a full analysis of this fight, which I'm sure Tommy is going to do, one last time, head over to his channel, Boxing. And thank you, Tommy, again for the artwork. But, gentlemen, we have quite a bit to get through for tonight's episode of And New MMA Show. We're going to start, as we always do, with our first segment on the marquee. Talk about fights from this past weekend's UFC Fight Night. We're going to throw a number of these fights into our lightning round for Mark and Omar. Then we're going to find out who rose and who fell on the heels of this past weekend's Fight Night with an update of our very own rankings system, the Priaulx Rankings. Then we're going to find out who is in the headlines and this week for Inside the MMA Sphere. And then we're going to look ahead to some previews for this coming weekend. We have fights all over the map in the MMA world with PFL, Bellator, and UFC. And then we're going to end with a little bit of trivia. But before we get to any of these fights, gentlemen, if you're joining us on YouTube, thank you. If you are liking our content, do us a favor. Go ahead and like this video. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. And also share this content with somebody who you know, who you care about, who you know loves MMA. Nothing would help us out more. If you disagree with any of our takes, if you love any of our takes, drop a comment below. Let us know. Comments, concerns. If you're concerned about Omar and his growing beard, let us know down below.
You're not the only ones, my friend.
Dude, I didn't even realize that. I trimmed mine, and yours is getting crazy. I think you're getting close to having the longest beard on this show.
The crazy thing is I've trimmed this shit 2 times. I have trimmed this shit 2 times. This is... I need to go to a professional because this shit is out of control.
That stash is getting mighty big as well.
I don't know what to do anymore.
All right, so if you are on YouTube right now watching this and you are thinking, man, I wish there was an audio-only version of this, we got you. We are on all the podcast platforms. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. And guess what? We're on social media. You can find us on all the apps with the handle @andnew_MMA show. I did it. Okay, this week, the name on the marquee has got to be Josh Emmett, who this past weekend defeated Calvin Kattar by a split decision, earning a 48-47 and a 48-47 at UFC Fight Night. Kattar versus Emmett. Mark, let me throw it over to you first. What was your take on the fight, the split decision? Let us know.
It was a good fight. It was a competitive fight. It wasn't quite the war that maybe we expected it to be when we saw this on paper and when we kind of built it up last week. And I think that's mainly because Calvin Kattar didn't fight the way that we expected him to fight, which I also think is the reason that he lost that fight. Like, Calvin Kattar against Gegard returned after this long layoff from losing to Max Holloway, and he came back and showed off this new, like, come-forward pressure style, didn't let Giga breathe, strikes in his face, the whole thing. And I thought it was that he had kind of flipped a switch after the Max Holloway loss where he was like, I can't be like the passive, fight behind the jab technique type fighter. Like, I got to go because guys are going to get ahead of me like Max did. I got to be the one on offense. And I kind of thought he had unlocked this new style for himself. And maybe you guys did as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm now realizing that may have simply been like a matchup-based opening that he saw against Giga because he did not fight that way against Josh Emmett. He fought like we've seen Calvin Kattar fight before, which is not necessarily bad. It's just not this new high level of Calvin Kattar that I thought had kind of arrived on the scene. But he played that more patient boxing game. He worked behind his jab, and it was working. It was a beautiful jab. It was landing all fight. You see Josh Emmett's face right now. It looks like garbage. Yeah. But Emmett was willing to play like the patient lunge in and out with flurries game that he loves to play. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we got a good fight, a close fight, but they were both kind of playing that game, and it turned out to not be the war that we really thought we were going to get. Calvin was smooth. He had good head movement. He rolled with a lot of Josh's strikes. Like, they looked like they were landing big, but he was kind of rolling. They weren't necessarily hurting him that much. Like I said, he worked beautifully behind the jab. Mm-hmm. It just felt like he never truly hit the gas in that fight. Like, I kept thinking it was coming, and it just didn't come. And Emmett, you got to give him credit. Like, he's shorter. He has a shorter reach. He's got less natural boxing skill. But he still found a way to beat Calvin Kattar in what was primarily a boxing match. Like, he's just really tricky with the way that he kind of lunges in and puts these flurries on you, like to multiple targets, like body, head, different sides, different angles, before you can react. And he's landed like 4 punches on you, and then he's back out with these flurries. So he's got a little bit of a tricky game for people to figure out. As for the cards, obviously it was a close fight. Calvin losing felt tough to me for a few reasons. One, I thought he won the fight if it was scored as a whole. So once again, I think pride rules would have had us arrive at a result that I liked more. Two, there were 3 clear rounds in that fight, and they were 3, 4, and 5. 3 was Emmett's, 4 and 5 were Kattar's. So he had 2 of the 3 clear rounds. 1 and 2 were both toss-up rounds. So when you see that, it just feels a little tough when Kattar loses the fight. But rounds 1 and 2 were razor-close rounds, and they come down to preference, and they come down to what judges thought landed or what they may have missed landing. And, you know, by definition of close rounds, it's very possible that they both end up going against you. And that's exactly what happened on one judge's card. Another judge did give the second to Kattar, and that's the one that had him winning. But the real problem here for me was that one judge gave the second to Kattar, and he didn't give him 4, which is just mind-blowing, because 4 was the most obvious round of the entire fight, and it was for Calvin Kattar. And if he would have got that round on the judge's card, he wins that decision. So he can't be losing that fight because he doesn't get the 4th round. Like, we can't have that. There's got to be a better way to do judging. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, maybe we get them away from cage side, like put them in a room with a TV and a headset, and they can have a better chance of actually seeing what's landing. Like, I mean, I'm grasping at straws here, but I just can't imagine a world where someone watched that 4th round and said, yeah, that one's a check for Josh Emmett. Like, it's not even possible. So, I don't know. Personally, live, I thought Kattar got 2, 4, 5, but once I rewatched, I am okay with all of 1, 2, 3 going to Emmett. So I get it. He gets the win. You know, the one judge annoyed me, but big win for Josh Emmett and his career.
Feels like we talk about judging almost every week now.
Yeah. And again, I to be clear, I don't mind the result. It just can't be because Kattar didn't get round 4.
Right. Omar, let's bring you in. What were your thoughts on the fight overall? And do you think that the rightful athlete came away the winner?
No. No, I do not.
Oh.
I had
No, I
it.
do not.
I had it for Kattar. I had 2, 4, and 5 for Kattar in that fight. For me, a lot of these fights were. I mean, 1 and 2 were of the 5 rounds the closest, but
Right.
I still thought that they were still pretty definitive as to who's got those rounds. The real issue that I had too is I think we talked about it the night of together in the text messages, was the fact that I think the judges are scoring things that are not happening.
Yep,
And they
I
might
agree.
perceive it as happening. There was a lot of shots that went right off of Kattar's arms, right off of his biceps, that he was able to kind of even parry with his forearm and his elbow. And it just and I wonder, and the sound that comes off of any Emmett strike that lands on any part of any flesh is going to sound like a thud, like a big impact. And I just wonder if those things make a bigger impact in the judge's mind than, frankly, they should.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I don't think I think when we look at damage as a whole, I think as messed up as Kattar was, I'm pretty sure Emmett was messed up just a bit more. I do think Kattar controlled most of the fight. I think there was a lot of lunging and almost kind of Hail Marying for a lot of that fight for Emmett. He did land a lot of solid shots, though. I mean, Kattar's face, clearly he landed. But I do think that there were a lot of shots that didn't land as cleanly as people or judges might have thought that they did. That being said, it was a fun fight to watch. I did enjoy watching the fight. It was a hell of a fight. I agree it wasn't the scrappy war, perhaps, that maybe we thought it was going to be, but I thought it was a very back-and-forth fight. Neither one of those guys were giving an inch. And Kattar did try to come forward, but just Emmett got to a point where when he got to like 3 steps, once he gave 2 or 3 steps, he just said, fuck it, and he bit down on his mouthpiece and he threw a few, and then we were, kind of back in the center to a certain extent. So, it was a good game plan for Emmett to kind of not allow Kattar to push him all the way back, and Emmett and Kattar didn't really adjust to it as well as he should have in order to kind of steal the show, if you will. But I do think he did enough to win the fight.
I mean, guys, remember, I'll just point out, in my experience, being ringside or cage side as an announcer, very often I've gotten to sit right next to judges. I mean, sometimes I sit on different sides sometimes. Sometimes I'm next to, like, the timekeeper who's ringing the bell. But very often I'm sitting right next to a judge.
It's dope.
And it's old school. It's not like entered into a computer system. And they're not tracking anything. They're not there's no lists. There's no screens in front of them that's showing them CompuStrike numbers. They just sit there with their hand over a slip of paper, which is the little, it's like that big usually, little score sheet. And they just watch the round. And when the bell rings, almost immediately, they don't sit there and like think about the round. They don't talk to anybody about it. They just turn their slip of paper over, take their pen, and write 10-9, and turn it right back over, and wait the rest of like the 50 seconds of the between round break. And that's it.
All of that is as it should be. Like, I don't want them to have strike numbers in front of them. I think those numbers don't tell the correct story a lot of the time. I don't even want to get cute.
Point.
I just wish there was a way to ensure that they are seeing more clearly, because you get the fighters on the other side of the cage, someone's back is to you, and you think 2 punches land because they make a sound and they're kind of blocked by the fighter's back, and really neither one of them landed. It's a big deal. So I wish there was a way to get past that. I just don't know what that way is. The only thing I can think is that they don't watch the live fight. They watch on video where there's maybe better angles, but like I'm sure that has its own problems. So I don't know what the answer is. It's just frustrating because I think that fight, as Omar said, and we were saying in the text that night, I think that fight was a big example of them thinking Josh Emmett landed more than he landed.
Yeah. Let's talk about where these two gentlemen are going to go from here off of the split decision results. Let's start with the winner, Josh Emmett. Mark, let me stick with you here. At featherweight, it's kind of a stacked division right now. And where do you want Emmett to go here? He's kind of knocking on the door of the upper echelon of featherweight, and good for Josh Emmett, by the way, because he's an exciting fighter. He's a fan favorite for good reason. I am happy for him. I wish that both these guys could have come away with a win somehow. But so where do you think Emmett should go here from here?
So I kind of always feel this way, but I still feel this way right now, and it's that I feel like I view Josh Emmett differently than most of the public. Like, he's calling for a title shot. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, do you give Josh Emmett the winner of this title fight? And I'm like, well, I don't even consider that. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't think he is that close to deserving a title fight. So, it's a stacked division. Like, I get it that he's doing well, but I just don't think we're there yet. I think undefeated guys like Bryce Mitchell and Arnold Allen have just as much of a claim to a title shot as he does. I don't think he has any resume that stands out so much above their resumes. So, personally, we've suggested some other fights for those guys. I think I'd kind of like to see one of them get paired with Josh Emmett. I think that's where I would go. Bryce Mitchell or Arnold Allen.
Nice. Omar?
Do we actually know what's going on with Chan Sung Jung at this point?
No,
I think I did hear that he wants to fight one more, but I'm not 100% positive. I feel like I did hear that.
Okay. I mean, he's got a number 4 spot, and I would be hard-pressed, as much as I don't think Josh Emmett deserves a title shot, I would be hard-pressed to give him somebody behind him at this point, especially if he ends up moving up to what I'm going to assume is the number 5 spot that he's going to take from Kattar.
It's updated, so we can look. I'll pull it up right now.
Kattar. I don't know why I want to say Kattar.
Yeah, Josh Emmett is number 4 in the UFC's new rankings.
Wow.
Kattar stayed at 5, and Zombie fell to 6.
That makes sense.
Oh, okay.
My rankings are pretty different than this, but yeah.
Well, in that case, everybody else in front of him has basically been booked. So, with that in mind, I guess, yes, I'll go with Arnold Allen or Bryce Mitchell. Probably Arnold Allen.
How about a guy who just came off a win? He's undefeated in the UFC, 16-0, undefeated as a pro. Movsar Evloev.
I thought about that, but I didn't include him with those names just because he's a little lower on the list, kind of how Omar was just alluding to. But, I mean, you could put him right in that bunch, Mitchell and Allen.
Totally.
What does the UFC have Arnold Allen at right now?
Allen is 7.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking right here. Arnold Allen also undefeated in the UFC, 18-1 overall. Wow.
I will say for Emmett, he could end up in a bigger fight if things play out the right way. Like, for example, say Volk beats Holloway, and that chapter is done. And say it's Ortega that beats Yair. You know, if Yair beats Ortega, we haven't seen Volk Yair. They're probably going to go that way. But say it's Ortega that wins. Then you might end up with, like, okay, are we going to do Volk Ortega again right away? Then maybe you end up saying, okay, Ortega Josh Emmett. You know, like, there's a way, if things work the right way, where he might end up with a huge name, but we kind of got to see how things play.
Totally. Let's talk about Calvin Kattar here. Now, he wasn't a big loser. He lost in a split decision. So, Omar, let me go to you here first. Once again, same situation, really. Featherweight is stacked, especially at the top of featherweight. Who would you want Calvin Kattar to fight next?
So I think at this point he should probably fight the one who doesn't get Josh Emmett. So we were kind of talking about Arnold Allen and Bryce Mitchell. I think one of those guys definitely deserves to fight at minimum Calvin Kattar at this point to see if they stack up.
Mr. Priaulx?
Yeah, I think you could go plenty of ways with him. Exactly what Omar said is possible. I think he could get the loser of that Ortega and Yair fight if you want to kind of keep him on a high level. He could be the one that fights Zombie. You know, I feel like he's an easy guy to match up. You can slot him in a lot of places right now.
God, featherweight. Excuse me. Featherweight is so good. And like deep into the teens, it's just killers everywhere you look.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, let's move on. Congrats to Josh Emmett for getting it done by split decision and earning his spot this week. The first time ever that Josh Emmett has been on the marquee. Let's move down this card now. In the co-main event, Kevin Holland in the welterweight division submits Tim the Dirty Bird Means by submission via Darce choke at 1 minute 28 seconds of round number 2. Omar, let me start with you this time. What was your impression on Kevin Holland's second bout at 170 pounds?
Kevin Holland is just fun, regardless of what ends up happening in a fight. He's going to be a good time. Luckily for him, and frankly for everybody else who likes him, he wins. And he tends to win in a fun way. I mean, it was a good fight, man. It was a scrap. Those boys came to trade and to slug it out. But I like Holland's approach at this point, right? He still talks in there for sure, but he's definitely in there with a purpose now. He's in there looking for things. He's in there setting things up. And the thing that I love the most is kind of his improvement in the grappling area, because Tim Means likes to dirty box, and he likes to come in and kind of close that distance. And Holland was able to break out of that and not get caught in that stuff and use his length to his advantage. And he pieced up Means for a little bit and got him to the point. I think Mark was the one who called it, and he picked him apart, got him right down to the ground, and was able to secure a nice little Darce choke, and it was all she wrote.
Nice. Mark, what was your assessment of Kevin Holland's second bout at welterweight?
I did call that round 2 club and sub, so props to your boy on that one. But yeah, I was going to say the same opening statement, which is that Kevin Holland is a lot of fun right now. And it feels like there might be a run underway here. Kevin Holland gets hit. He definitely gets hit. He did against Alex Oliveira. He did against Tim Means, but that's kind of part of the fun. Like at some point, maybe it's going to go the wrong way for him. But he goes in there to get in a fist fight and see who comes out as the better man. And lately that answer has been him. He did get hit some, as I said, but his speed was such a factor. He was landing super clean on Means because of it. Means was almost always having to react to what Holland was doing first. And he's really added some takedown defense and ability to get up off his back. And it's going to be interesting to see that going forward. I know Means is not like the greatest wrestler on earth,
right,
but he's got a tricky little takedown, back take sub game like we've seen it before. Mm-hmm. So it's nice little steps. We'll see how he stacks up against a true wrestler when we get there. But it looks promising right now, especially because Kevin Holland does, as he said in the post fight, he does have jiu-jitsu to fall back on as well. Like he's got his own sub game. Yeah. So he's a versatile guy. He's dangerous. He can finish you in a lot of ways. And he really feels like he is growing right now every time we see him, which for a while it felt like same Kevin Holland every fight. Lately, it seems like every time you see him, there's another layer. So, and he's maturing just mentally as well, which is big for him. So he looks really good at the moment.
Yeah, still playing Batman, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. But man, welterweight. I mean, he's entering into welterweight as a former middleweight prospect and now sort of a welterweight. He has the attributes. This is what I'm trying to say. He has the attributes to really make some noise at 170 pounds. His 100%. Frame, his height, his length.
Yep.
It's going to be very interesting to see how he does going up into sort of the top 15 of the welterweight division. That being said, segue. Where do you guys think he goes from here at welterweight? Let's start with Omar this time. Give me a name.
So he called out Nate Diaz, and I don't hate it. No. Nate Diaz needs a fight, for God's sakes.
Nate Diaz.
Don't give the man a murderer. Don't give him Chimaev. Don't, you know what I mean? You're not going to give him Usman. You're not going to give him any of these people, right? So why not give him Kevin Holland? Literally, why not? It's a fun fight. People will tune in for that fight. It's a great way for Nate Diaz to go out. It's a fight Nate Diaz could technically win. It's a fight that Kevin Holland could very well win. I think it's a good time. I don't see why not.
Mark?
I love the idea of Holland against Nate Diaz. The problem is just that we know what is happening right now with the UFC, and it's that they want to give him someone that they're 100% sure is going to kill him so that his contract can be complete and his marketability can be down, and they can say, oh, Nate Diaz is done, and that'll be that. They do not want to risk him going out on a win and having buzz and choosing on his own will to leave the UFC. You already hear what Dana's been saying today. I don't know, or if you heard. He's like, yeah, who, you know how Dana is. He builds up his guy. Now he's like, Nate Diaz is 1-4 in his last 4 fights. He probably should go fight Jake Paul. But if you know anything about what's going on, he can't go fight Jake Paul because Dana won't let him out of his contract. But he also won't book him in a fight because the only guy he wants him to fight is Chimaev to make sure that he gets mauled. So the UFC is playing a game, and it's gone on way too long now. It's actually starting to piss me off. Just give the guy a goddamn fight. But I don't think they're going to do it until they have someone that they think is going to maul him, and that person is not Kevin Holland.
And why can't they just why can't they resign him, win or lose?
Because Nate Diaz. He's leaving. He's trying to leave.
Nate Diaz doesn't want.
He has told them he's not resigning. Yeah, that's why this is happening.
He should fight anybody.
It used to be they were trying to, back when the Poirier fight was happening, that they were telling him they wouldn't book the fight until he resigned. and he was explicitly like, I am not resigning. I'm going to fight Jake Paul. And since that's why this is playing out this way.
I mean, even if he gets crushed by somebody like a Chimaev, he's still Nate Diaz. He's going to go to Bellator.
That's what
go
I'm
to
saying.
one.
But you know how Dana works. Like, that's how, if you tell Dana, I want to be out of here, he tries to send you out looking as bad as he can. But that's what I'm saying. Like, exactly what you just said. He is still Nate Diaz. Like, it's not going to make a huge difference. Like, just give him a fight and let this be over with.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Anyway,
let's move on.
As for Holland, he called out Sean Brady, which feels like a big jump, and is maybe asking for Kevin Holland to lose. But if Sean Brady truly can't get anyone to say yes to him right now, which it seems like that's the case, then hell, you could do a lot worse than Kevin Holland. Like, I know Sean Brady might be thinking, oh, he's not even ranked yet, but like, he was a ranked middleweight and he's a popular guy, and that's a lot of eyes on you. So that's not the worst matchup in the world. But if not Sean Brady, I would also love to see Michelle Pereira. I think that'd be a crazy one.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Chiesa would be fun too, even though that's also kind of
it's actually good too.
A nice little gallop, but I think that'd be fun.
I mean, listen, it's not that crazy. Like, Kevin Holland beat Jacare. Like, I know he moved down and he's not ranked yet, but like, it's not crazy to put him against these ranked welterweights. Like, he's an established.
You're right. That's what I'm saying.
He didn't just beat Jacare. He knocked out Jacare from the bottom with a back fist.
That's
amazing.
This isn't some up-and-coming guy who hasn't done it yet. Like, he knocked out Jacare. Like, we can put him in there with someone.
Probably my favorite finish and highlight of his resume right now.
Hell yeah.
Okay, let's move on. In the interest of time, let's keep going down this card. In the middleweight division, Joaquin Buckley defeated Albert Duraev by TKO via doctor stoppage at the end of the second round. Did you like how I did that?
Loved it.
Mark, let me send it over to you first. What were your assessment of the fight overall and of the way that it ended?
Joaquin Buckley went out there and fought a perfect fight. Like, he somehow was able to use his full arsenal of strikes, and specifically kicks, despite the obvious threat of the takedown that was coming back at him from Duraev. So that was really impressive. His timing was incredible. He was so dialed in. That one kick on the takedown entry may have honestly been a coincidence, but if it wasn't, that was some of the greatest timing I've ever seen on takedown defense in my life. That was easily the best and most complete, and I would say most consistently dangerous Joaquin Buckley that we've seen to date. Like, we've seen the big moments, but he was a danger that whole fight. He was putting it on Duraev. And I would go as far as saying that despite, like, the flash, and obviously he's had some great KOs, that he never felt like he was a fully formed fighter earlier on, and now he's starting to feel like he is. Like, that guy that fought on Saturday night could beat a lot of guys in the middleweight division. So I am very interested to see the further development of Joaquin Buckley.
Omar, what's your take?
Yeah, it was a very technically sound performance, I think, from Joaquin Buckley. I love watching him. I've always loved watching him. He is a very flashy guy. He likes to pull out a lot of crazy things, spinning things, or whatever else. But he did what he had to do in this fight for sure, especially when he came to making sure he didn't get taken down. He has decent takedown defense that he proved in that fight. And he broke that man's face, quite literally. That dude's eye, like a balloon. It blew. It was huge by the end of that fight. And the doctor had to stop it as a result. He couldn't see out of that eye anymore. It was a great performance from Buckley. I'm still, as good as he is and as good as he looks, I still feel like there's a certain ceiling for him. I'm not necessarily convinced that he could reach the elite level. I feel like there's always going to be somebody at the top that's going to be that wall for him. Love to be, proven wrong, but I just still feel that from his performances still.
In terms of him,
go
ahead.
I was just going to say, I totally agree that he is not going to be an elite middleweight, but I just think I'm realizing he can beat more guys than I thought.
Yeah,
totally. So what's next for him? There's a lot of guys ahead of him in middleweight still right now. Omar, let me stick with you and give me a name of who you think Joaquin Buckley should go up against next.
There's some interesting fights that would be very fun to match him up with. I just don't know how high we really want to take him. There's the Wellington Turman fight. Even matching him up against Chidi, I think, would be interesting, just from stylistics.
That was going to be mine. Chidi,
stylistically,
bang,
that would be a fun fight. I feel like Chidi probably deserves somebody higher than Buckley, as fun as that fight is. So I don't know if that's fair for both parties in that specific sense. But even a fight against Hawes at this point, I think would be interesting.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard to figure out exactly who deserves a little bit higher and who deserves somebody lower. But I think Joaquin Buckley deserves definitely somebody above him at this point.
Mark?
Yeah, I would like to run him up the line a little bit for sure because, again, the guy that's fought the last couple fights has looked vastly improved. So I'd like to put him across from a vet like Krzysztof Jotko and see how things shake out for him against kind of an established guy like that.
Wow. Jotko's a big jump.
Yeah, bro, that's higher than fucking all three of the names I had. Jesus.
Who'd you say?
I said Wellington Turman, Chidi, and Phil Hawes.
I think Hawes is I hate how Hawes doesn't get respected. I think Hawes should be ranked above Jotko. But yeah, the other two for sure.
Wow. Okay. Moving on. Let's see. Yes, Damir Ismagulov split decision victory over Guram Kutateladze by split decision, like I said, 29-28 and a 30-27 for Ismagulov. And Kutateladze got his own 29-28. Mark, let me throw it over to you first this time. What was your take on the split decision win for Ismagulov?
Dude, both of these guys are so good. Like, I truly believe they could beat a bunch of guys in these rankings right now. And I said this to Omar earlier today. That felt like a fight where I fully believe that we could see that again in like 3 years with much bigger stakes. That was a great fight, super competitive throughout. It almost played out how I thought, in that Guram was just a bit too dynamic for Ismagulov to take a decision off of. But then Herb Dean had to go and get himself involved. I had that thing 1-1 going into the third. I thought Guram clearly took round one. I thought Damir responded really well and took round two. And then I thought three was razor close. And then with 25 or so seconds left, whatever it was, Guram lands a beautiful knee to the chest, takes down Damir, gets on top of him, and Herb pauses the fight. He calls it an illegal knee to the head, which it wasn't. Takes away the position, which then allows them to stand back up, and it allows Damir to land one big punch right before the bell. So because of Herb, that whole final 25 seconds ends up being nothing for Guram because all that the knee gets taken away, the takedown gets taken away, the top control gets taken away, and it's a big punch for Damir. Whereas if that fight got to play out the way it should have in those last 25 seconds, a razor close round ends with big knee from Guram, takedown from Guram, and what is likely 20 seconds of top control and more punches from Guram. So it's a razor close round that ends up going to Damir on the cards because of the way Herb Dean ended that thing in the last 30 seconds. And if it wasn't for that, I think every judge scores that round for Guram. So I think he got robbed there. I think it's a shame, but both guys did fight really well. They both showed how good they are. Damir stays undefeated in the octagon. Big win for him, but I thought it was a bullshit ending.
Omar, what was your take on the split decision?
Yeah. I still have a problem with one judge giving it 30-27 one way. What did he get? 30-27 to Ismagulov.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Guram won round one for sure. Get out of here.
I mean, to not give that man one of those 3 rounds is fucking madness to me. But here we stand, another conversation about MMA judging and how it costs people, and because it shouldn't have been that crazy of a decision the way that came out. That should have all been 29-28s. You could have made it either way, especially with that third round being a toss-up as it was. But I'm pretty sure everybody on board was on board with round one being for Kutateladze and round two being for Ismagulov. How this guy gave the entire fight to Ismagulov is beyond me.
Do you agree though that Guram probably takes those cards if Herb didn't take away that whole position in knee?
I know what you're saying. Honestly, dude, by the time that round it got to that point, it was so close that it's hard for me to tell you that one moment would have sealed the deal.
That's what I mean, though. It was so close. Take down, top control punches. I think that was easily going to be enough. I don't know. I didn't like it.
It's just that fight was so crazy that, yes, one could argue that the punches were going to continue coming. It's very possible that Kutateladze would have been able to reverse it and do some other nonsense, because that's pretty much how a majority of that fight was going too. Herb Dean needs to leave these fucking people alone.
Yeah, I know. What confused me was, didn't he watch the replay?
I don't know.
I could swear that.
I thought that was a thing that they do now. When the replay is on, I thought they pay attention and they're like, "Oh, I fucked up. Restart. Like, let's get it going again."
They took the camera off Herb, but they were making it sound like Herb was watching the replay, and then the replay very obviously shows it land to the chest. And he comes back in and he's like, illegal knee to the head, you lose the position. And I was like, wait a second, what? Did he not watch it? I don't understand how that works.
So I wonder if the argument was the knee hit the chest and glanced off and hit the head. I wonder if that's the argument, because that did look like that happened, but it wasn't. It didn't seem like an illegal knee to the head.
Yeah, I mean, every announcer right away was like, oh my God, that's clearly to the chest. Like, I don't know. Pissed me off.
Yeah. Herb Dean is he's making it difficult, man. He's making it real difficult.
Yep. Hey man, he's tired, man. Omar, they need you. They need you in there.
Listen, if you're fucking tired, take a goddamn seat. There's some perfectly good referees that'll take the place.
Dude,
we're good.
I thought you were going to say there's perfectly good seats all around the cage.
No, listen, it's not 2009. Like, the reality is, Herb Dean did his job. We've gotten to the point where Herb Dean did enough that we don't need Herb Dean anymore. And if he's going to keep fucking up fights, just go the way of the other fucking guy who can't shut his mouth up now. And you know who I'm talking about, Mark.
No, who are you talking about?
Other referee. Yeah, the other referee.
John McCarthy.
That guy. McCarthy. Dude, I haven't liked that guy since he stopped refereeing. That guy talks wild shit now.
Yep.
But my point is if you can't referee anymore, you're costing these people. You're taking everything they're working for, motherfucker.
Yep.
So, you know what I mean? Just sit down, let the Herzogs take it, let the no nonsense take it. There's guys that are there. We've reached a point where there's a decent selection now, and it's not like the repetitive 3 guys on rotation. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah. Give me Herzog or give me death. That's all I'm going to say. Gun to my head, I want one ref who's not going to fuck up a fight and who's going to be
Jason Herzog.
Flawless throughout a fight. Give me fucking Herzog.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Love Herzog.
100%.
Yep. Anyway, let's see. Ismagulov gets the win, though, by split decision, and he gets to keep marching up the lightweight rankings. Mark, give me the name of who you would match him up with against next.
So, Gregor Gillespie still has not even considered taking a damn fight because he can't get one with anyone ranked above him. But at a certain point in time, this man has been sitting out for ages already. He is going to have to say yes to someone. And I would love for it to be Damir Ismagulov. I think it's a really interesting matchup with the skills that they each bring to the table, and I think it would do a lot to bolster the resume of whoever wins that fight. I think that would be a very helpful fight for Gregor. So at some point, he's got to say yes to a fight.
Mark goes with Greg. Omar?
Gregor.
Yeah.
Don't call me Greg. My name is Gregor.
Gregor.
Honestly, I'm going to take that. Right now, it looks like everybody and their mother is booked up right around the area where we need to be looking. And unless you're going to throw Tony Ferguson to Ismagulov, which I'm frankly not a huge fan of. I think Tony Ferguson needs something where I feel like he might win. I think Gregor Gillespie's a nice fight, especially if Gregor Gillespie doesn't deserve to be at the number 10 spot. If he can't keep it, then shouldn't be there.
Okay. Well, that being said, gentlemen, let us dissect one more fight before we throw the rest of these fights from this UFC Fight Night into our lightning round. The first fight on the main card on ESPN supposed to happen at bantamweight, but had to go down at a catch weight of 137.5 pounds. Adrian Yanez, Omar's boy, defeats Tony Kelley by TKO at 3 minutes 49 seconds of the very first round. Omar, the floor is yours.
Man, if there was nothing else to take away from that fight, that kid's composure is fucking next level, because all that shit that Tony Kelley was talking, I'd have lost my shit. I'd have lost my whole mind. And Yanez was stone-faced the entire time, picked him apart. The jab was beautiful. The combinations are beautiful. The way he's able to take his foot off the gas, put it back on when he needs to, is so goddamn good. Tony Kelley, he made it look like Tony Kelley never, ever stood a chance. The most damage that ended up happening to Yanez in that fight came as a result of a headbutt, which Yanez blames on himself at this point. It was another beautiful performance from Yanez. The kid is so fucking good. He's so good in there. And Tony Kelley 100% deserved an ass beating, and he got it. It was probably just as satisfying to watch. No way it was. But it was satisfying to watch. It was very satisfying to watch.
Mark, what's your take on Yanez getting now, I believe, his 5th victory in the UFC, still undefeated in the UFC? What's your take?
Bro, you want to beat Adrian Yanez, you better come with some fucking wrestling. Because standing with that man is like fighting a guy with a third arm. Like, he just finds angles that you are not ready for. He's so accurate. And also, can we get Adrian Yanez pissed off every fight, please? Because, Jesus, like, that was an ass-whooping. Tony Kelley thought he was about to have, like, this shit-talking, blow-for-blow, who's the tougher guy fight. And instead, all Tony Kelley did was kiss the mat. Like, Adrian Yanez is the real deal. We knew he was, and it is time to move this man up. I still don't get how he went from Davey Grant back to Tony Kelley, but, like, he whooped him. Like, even I thought that Kelley would, like, be a dog, keep it going. Absolutely not. Like, enough now. Let's move Adrian Yanez up. He needs to fight someone ranked, or at least right outside the rankings, someone that we respect up there. It's time. He's too good.
The funny thing was Tony Kelley was apparently Yanez was saying after the fight in the post press conference that Tony Kelley was. They were like, "Oh, did he come up to you and apologize?" He's like, "No, he didn't apologize. He was telling me that he was still in that fight, that he still wanted to fight. He was talking about, I came here to fight. I didn't quit." And this, and he's like, "Man,
have you seen him since on Twitter?"
Who?
Tony Kelley.
No,
dude. He keeps saying how Yanez knows what would happen if they fought again, and he's scared to give him the rematch, and he knows that he lucked out, and blah, 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 blah. The guy's fucking delusional.
Dude, Tony Kelley was probably in the hospital still thinking he was waiting to fight Adrian Yanez. Tony Kelley was on all kinds of street that weren't straight. That man needs a wake-up call of all different sizes and shapes, because
I thought he's
out of his mind.
Apparently he needs another one.
No, Yanez broke him that night. He didn't fix nothing. He made it worse. That was what a performance, man. Yanez is the shit. Tony Kelley is a piece of shit. What a night. What a night.
Let's stick with just Adrian Yanez. Omar, since he is one of your favorite fighters, let's start with you. Give me a name at bantamweight. Like Mark alluded to, it's time for this guy to really step up in the rankings here, so give me a name.
I agree. I'm going to toss one out here. I'm not going to get super crazy, but I'm going to go up here a little bit. You guys might take this a little personal. Kyler Phillips.
That's my name. That's what I was going to say.
No, both of you. I don't want to see either one of those guys lose.
I know that. I almost didn't want to say it for that reason, but God, how fucking sick would that fight be?
Be a great fight.
See, I don't have the same emotional connection to Kyler Phillips that you guys have, so I'm definitely looking for Yanez to sleep that
Phillips,
kid.
Man. Love Phillips.
However, that's a great fight.
Of course.
Great fight.
My love and appreciation for Kyler Phillips is well documented on this show. That could headline a fight night right there.
It really could, and that's what I mean.
I agree.
Yanez's star is getting so big, and that's why I want to add the slight caveat that he keeps mentioning Sean O'Malley. and I've heard some people suggest maybe we just let him fight the winner of Munoz and O'Malley. And while I think maybe I would like one in-between fight, like Phillips, like we were suggesting, or someone else.
I agree.
If that's what happens, I don't even care. Like, let's do the damn thing. He looks too good. I don't even care if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Any comment on that, Omar?
I kind of agree. I'd still rather him have one in. I would rather him have one in between before we start throwing him to the place where it matters, where wins and losses at that point really start to matter. Because once you're in the top 10, you need to start staying in the top 10, and that becomes a lot more difficult once you're up there. So,
all right, guys. In the interest,
this one should have been the in between. Like Cody Stamann was on this card. He should have been fighting Cody Stamann, and Eddie Wineland should have fought Tony Kelley. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how he went backwards to Tony Kelley.
All right, gentlemen. In the interest of time, let's march on and throw the rest of these bouts from UFC Fight Night, Kattar versus Emmett, into our lightning round. So, also on the main card in the middleweight division, Gregory Rodriguez defeats Julian Marquez by knockout at 3 minutes 18 seconds of round number 1. Mark, go first.
I'm going to try to really do lightning today. We'll see how this goes.
Let's go.
Holy shit. Gregory Rodriguez just walked Julian Marquez down. But the way that fight played out is exactly why I picked him. Like, I thought it would be a car crash of a fight, and Marquez just does not have the requisite defense against a guy as dangerous as RoboCop, and that's exactly how it played out.
Omar, hit it.
My man HoboCop did not stop coming forward. By any stretch of the imagination. Yo, every time Marquez tried to come forward, he was like, bop, nope. And then Marquez would come back, he'd be like, damn, that didn't feel good. Come forward, bop, nope. Until he put Marquez out. HoboCop for the win. That's my boy.
Okay. The feature bout on the prelims on ESPN Plus and ESPN2 in the women's flyweight division, Natalia Silva defeats Jasmine Jasudavicius by unanimous decision. Omar, go first.
Yo, this Silva girl beat the shit out of Jasmine. I mean, have we ever seen that girl fight before? I don't think
That was her debut.
Holy mother of God. Just, you know what? For lightning's sake, I'll just say this. Sign me up for another one for Natalia Silva because Jesus Christ.
Mark, go.
Yeah, how fucking good is Natalia Silva? She had taken like 2.5 years off prior to that debut, and apparently became a whole different fighter because any scouting report or anything written or prior videos about that fight, she was like trying to get it to the ground, like didn't want to be standing. Obviously, she has 1 million subs on her record. She came in there teeing off on the feet. I mean, she had everything, like a variety of kicks, hands. Then she had throws, top game, and obviously the jiu-jitsu that she didn't even have to use in that fight. So, yeah, I mean, that is a girl to watch. That was crazy impressive.
Okay, in the welterweight division, Jeremiah Wells defeats Court McKee by knockout at 1 minute 34 seconds of round number 1. Mark, let's stay with you. Take it.
So last week when I came on this show, you guys were hearing me say how busy I've been with the new job and how I was super unprepared. And I was so unprepared that I didn't even get to look at the fights. And when I heard Jeremiah Wells' name, somehow my brain thought of Terrence McKinney. And I picked the fight as if it was Terrence McKinney. If you go back and listen, I'm talking about how he just fought Drew Dober, blah, 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 and it's fucking Jeremiah Wells. So for what it's worth, I would have picked Jeremiah Wells. But he went in there and tried to kill Court McGee. He hit him with 2 more death blows after he was already super obviously out cold. I don't know why he wanted to kill him, but that was savage.
Omar?
Yeah, it's hard to even really take anything away from that fight because the fight didn't even really start. Just Jeremiah found an opening, was able to put, a combination together, caught him on the last end of of a 3-piece combination, and dude, I mean, he was out before he even hit the ground. It was crazy. His whole body went limp.
Yeah, he was very obviously out.
Yeah.
Okay, in the featherweight division,
more, but Christ.
In the featherweight division, another knockout. Ricardo Ramos defeats Janny Chavez by knockout via spinning back elbow. This one was savagery. The official time, 1 minute 12 seconds of round number 1. Omar, go first.
So how many of these spinning back elbows does one need to have before you just name it after yourself? Because the kid has now landed 2, and they've been knockouts. Like, they have put people basically out on their feet or otherwise. So he's only a few away at this point from just calling it getting Ramos.
Mark?
That was one of my favorite spinning elbows ever. Like, that one will always stick in my brain. The way he read it, the way he stepped in to set it up, and specifically, like, the lower angle that he dragged his elbow through on to kind of disguise what was coming. Plus, the precision of the shot was ridiculous. But that whole just sequence from the beginning of his setup to obviously the knockout was beautiful. And Ramos is really finding his stride right now in his career.
Okay, the women's yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. The amount of distance that he covered.
Yep.
Throwing a spinning back elbow is not normal. Like that was beautifully done. That is not normally how one would throw or set that up. He's covered a lot of distance to do that.
Okay. In the women's strawweight division, Maria Oliveira defeats Gloria De Paula by split decision, earning a 29-28 on 2 scorecards. De Paula getting her own 29-28. Omar, go first.
Yeah, I didn't care for this decision personally. It was a close fight, but I did have De Paula winning 2-1. I mean, I don't really have any skin in the game in this specific fight, so I didn't really hold it to high regard. But it was a good fight. I just thought that De Paula did a little bit more to solidify it for herself.
Mark?
Yeah, these girls came to scrap. De Paula was more fundamental. Oliveira was more of like the berserker style, I would say. I honestly don't know who won that fight. I didn't have time to rewatch it live. I just kept thinking it was really close. But Oliveira gets herself a big win, and they both put on a solid show.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think three was the toss-up round.
It seemed that way, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Okay, in the bantamweight division, Michigan's own Cody Stamann defeats Eddie Wineland by TKO at 59 seconds of round number 1. Mark, take it.
Yeah, Cody Stamann needed a win like that to put some respect back on his name, but he looked great here. He hurt Wineland early, swarmed him, didn't let him escape, and got himself a monster win. But then, unfortunately, Eddie was trying to leave his gloves in the cage and somehow got ushered out and didn't get to have his moment or a final interview, which is disappointing for a guy who was the first ever WEC bantamweight champion. You would think he would get a little more respect than that. But shout out to Eddie Wineland on a solid career, and wish he would have got a moment in there.
Omar, you're up.
Yeah, that was it was a brutal knockout. I'm glad Eddie Wineland has hung it up. We're going to touch on it a little bit more in depth when we get to the Sphere, but I'm glad somebody like him has hung it up. He's taken way too much damage. He was not going to be a champion at this point. It just didn't really seem like the juice was worth the squeeze. He had his time. I loved watching him fight when I was first starting to watch MMA and first starting to get into it, but I'm just glad I don't have to worry about him, getting any more brain damage. And frankly, him and his family doesn't have to worry about it either.
Yeah. All right. In the middleweight division, Phil Hawes gets back in the win column, defeating Darren Wynn by TKO at 4 minutes, 25 seconds of round number 2. Omar, let's stick with you here. You go first.
Yo, Phil Hawes out here fighting like a chicken wing. The whole fight just throwing elbows. That whole thing just coming in elbows. He was either completely extended with the jab or he was throwing elbows. That was the entire arsenal he had for that fight. And it was amazing. It was completely effective. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. One of the greatest uses of elbows I've ever seen since John Jones, frankly. I mean, what a performance. I mean, he beat the shit out of Darren Wynn. Darren Wynn is too tough for his own good, and we should point that out. Darren Wynn fought every second of that fight as best he could, but the reality was there were so many variables against him, on top of the fact that Phil Hawes was able to use his reach, his size, which was disgustingly apparent. He used everything against Darren Wynn and really put it on him, busted up his entire face. I'm glad the referee stepped in when he did because we didn't need to go any further than that.
Mark?
Sorry, I was reading something. Yeah, first off, Deron Winn looks like a literal midget fighting at middleweight. It is so wild to watch. But Phil Hawes looked friggin' unreal. That fight looked like a mismatch from jump, and Phil Hawes just whooped Winn in every possible way. Omar said it. Somehow Winn does not fall down. Like, is it just gravity because he's so low to the ground he can't fall? Like, I don't understand how he doesn't fall down. He ate so many fucking big shots. But that was a beating, and I would like to take 1 minute here for Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes is one of the most oddly disrespected fighters on the entire roster. The man is now 4-1 in the UFC. He beat Nasruddin Imavov, who people love as like an up-and-comer at middleweight. I think Imavov might even be ranked, or he's like right there. And no one talks about Phil Hawes. Like, he's won 8 out of 9. The only loss is when he was beating the shit out of Chris Curtis and happened to get caught by one punch. So who knows what happens if they run that one back. And I just feel like my man gets no love, and I don't understand it. Like, I hear people say after this fight, like, oh, we should move Phil Hawes up the line and give him a shot at, like, Eric Anders. Like, what? Like, Phil Hawes is, like, should be ranked to me, practically. So I don't like the disrespect of Phil Hawes.
I mean,
Carry on.
He's definitely ahead of Eric Anders. Where the fuck is Eric Anders?
Now I'm curious where ranking has Hawes.
Okay, guys, one more lightning. Here we go. Also in the middleweight division, Roman Dolidze defeats Kyle Daukaus by knockout. So many knockouts on this card. Official time, 1 minute, 13 seconds of round number 1. Mark, take it.
There wasn't too much to analyze in this one. First, it was a clash of heads. Then it was kind of like a weird left hook that landed in an exchange. And then just a brutal knee in the clinch for a type of finish that we don't really see that often. So, absolutely a big win for Dolidze. Is that how you say it? I always forget.
I believe so.
But then his post-fight interview was just like the definition of loud noises. Like, he just kept yelling, wasn't saying much. Like, I feel like he really did not seize the moment there.
Okay, Omar, bring us home.
Dude, I would love to have that type of flexibility and dexterity with my knees. I would love to be able to bring my knee all the way up to my head to knock somebody the hell out, because I don't have it. And that knee was beautiful.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, that does it for this week's lightning round. And now let's put a bow on UFC Fight Night, Kattar versus Emmett, by finding out who rose and who fell in our very own ranking system, the Priaulx Rankings. Mark, take it away.
Yeah, it's a tiny bow. I feel like this has been happening kind of often lately, but it was another one of these cards where pretty much every single winner was already ranked like a good chunk ahead of the guy they beat. So there wasn't like a huge amount of movement for that reason. The two that I guess were somewhat notable just because it was the main event, I'll give you a riser and a faller. Josh Emmett moves from number 9 to number 7 in my featherweight ranks. And the reason I say it's notable is because I have him lower. I have him at 7. The UFC has him at like 4. I believe. I'm not sold on his resume yet. Like, to me, I have him just behind the Bryce Mitchell and Arnold Allens just because they are undefeated. And I don't think Emmett has a win that should be jumping him over those guys in terms of quality. So I still have him at 7 personally. And then the fall is Calvin Kattar goes from number 5 to number 8, right behind Emmett. He takes a tumble backward right after it felt like he had kind of finally entered that elite area of featherweight. So we'll see how he bounces back. And that was really it for the week. There wasn't much movement. Like I said, it was a lot of favorites winning. So when that happens, no one really moves all that much.
Was this the second most knockouts in a fight night kind of thing?
Yeah, we should have touched on that, how ridiculous this card was. I feel like we gave London a lot of credit as an overall card when that card happened, and this card deserves a similar amount of credit because this shit was crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
Sure was.
Yeah. There was only 2 decisions out of the entire card, which is...
Wow. And what was there, one
wild.
sub? Was it one sub?
No,
Yeah,
I don't
one
think it
sub.
was. Oh, yeah. Oh, right, the Kevin Holland one. I barely...
Yeah.
I still think of it as a knockout to a certain extent because he fucked him up right before he caught him in that Darce choke, but you're absolutely right.
Oh, there was 3 decisions, though. 4 decisions. Yeah.
Really?
More than we
Oh,
thought.
the Kutateladze one, the 2 women.
And Emmett.
And... Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, folks,
Still, ridiculous card.
Yeah.
Is that does it for the rankings?
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys. So before we hop into our segments inside the MMA sphere, let's touch on the results from PFL 2022 season event number 4. Anything you guys want to touch on or that you feel was relevant?
Yeah, I'll throw 2 things out there quick. The main fight that we highlighted last week was OAM, Olivier Allball Mercier, fighting Hausch Manfio. And it wasn't a terribly exciting fight, but OAM got the job done against a guy that's been very tricky for a lot of people in PFL, Anthony Pettis included, Clay Collard included. So he gets it done. He's now 4-0 since he left the UFC. When he did leave the UFC, it's not even like he was like losing to bad guys. Like, he's been solid throughout. So he's probably the favorite at this point, unless you want to call Pettis the favorite. And it kind of feels like those two might be on a collision course eventually in that lightweight division in PFL this year. And then the other thing of note was in the main event, Clay Collard, in my opinion, got robbed against Alex Martinez. I do not think he lost that fight. I think he won rounds 1 and 3 fairly clearly. He has had some tough luck with scorecards in his PFL run, and now he misses out on the playoffs a year after he should have been the champ and got screwed on those scorecards. So, rough run of judging for Clay Collard.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that being said, let us dive inside the MMA sphere with Omar Artola. Omar, let us know what's going on in the world of MMA in the headlines.
What is going on? All right, so we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. Kevin Holland out here playing Batman still. He apparently stops a thief who stole some perfume on the eve of the UFC Austin card this past weekend. I don't understand how he keeps putting himself in these positions. I mean, statistically, this shit seems crazy at this point. But anyway, here we are. Apparently, Holland saw somebody yelling, about a thief and that they stole something, and so Holland is like, "Cool, let's open up some cardio," and he starts chasing him down the street. It doesn't seem like, from what I read, that he caught the guy, but he was able to return the perfume. So it seems like the guy dropped the perfume to get away. So he did return the stuff that was stolen, and manager praised him and thanked him for his help and all that kind of stuff. So Kevin Holland out here still doing big things.
How does he keep finding himself in these situations? How?
This one, he was supposedly sitting there eating dinner. Like, I don't know.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the last one, the one where there was a gunfight was he was there celebrating a birthday with his
eating
friends.
dinner. Yeah.
I mean, he's not looking for it. He's not looking for it, but he finds it 100%. So I don't know.
Crazy.
He should probably play the lottery. The lottery. He should probably play the lottery. He's got some interesting luck. All right, next on the list. Davidson Figueiredo has officially, it looks like, stopped working with Henry Cejudo and the Cejudo clan. Looks like he's joining the Shoot the Box team in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Oh, wow.
He's now training with Mark's boy, Charles Oliveira, full-time.
I didn't hear this.
Yeah, he plans to do his next fight camp there with them. So,
dude, sorry. Do you have another point on it? Because I have.
No, I was gonna say it'll be interesting to see if, one, how that works out for him, and two, if he ends up staying there.
I think that his style that he already has is a really good match for Shoot the Box's style. I think that could be a great fit.
Yeah. Let's hope he can stay healthy, because those boys scrap over there.
That's valid.
That's a wild spot over there. So, again, we also touched on this next one as well. Eddie Wineland has officially retired from MMA. That man has been in the sport for at least a decade and a half at this point. I'll read to you guys really quickly what he put up on Instagram, because, again, the UFC did not give him an opportunity to properly say his goodbyes. So here we go. I didn't get an opportunity to leave my gloves in the cage, but as Jim Morrison once sang, this is the end. The road I've traveled over the past almost 20 years has seen many highs and lows. It's been a fun ride, but this train has reached its final destination. I'm forever grateful and extremely thankful for the opportunities given by UFC, Dana White, and Sean Shelby. Everything you guys and the company have done for me and given to me, I'm forever grateful. Thank you, and thank you to the fans who've always stood in my corner. Officially retired, end of the road. Thank you for the memories. Time to turn the page and on to the next chapter in life. So shout out to Eddie Wineland.
Good for him, man. Yeah, shout out to Eddie.
So many fantastic fights, so many fantastic performances, and on to the next. All right,
sure.
That's how we're gonna leave the news on a high note there with a solid man living the rest of his career or the rest of his life with his family, not getting the shit kicked out of him. That's fantastic. On to some fight announcements. Some big fight announcements before we get into some others. Two big ones that I pulled out of the bunch. Marlon Vera versus Dominic Cruz has been announced and will be headlining UFC San Diego on August 13th. That fight, I can't even right now. That fight is so fucking good. The next fight right now, it's Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw, September 10th, UFC 279. Aljamain Sterling is pulling some bullshit, though, with he hadn't signed the contract because of pay and this, that, and the other. So we'll say tentative, but I feel like they'll figure this part out. So September 10th, UFC 279. Chances are they'll either be the headliner or the co-headliner for that card. Okay. On to the rest of our announcements. Michael Johnson versus Jamie Malarkey on July 9th. Shamil Gamzatov versus Misha Serkinov has been added to UFC's August 6th card.
Nice.
Phil Rowe versus Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov has been added to UFC's Long Island card on July 16th. Jose Aldo versus Merab Dvalishvili is in the works for UFC 278 on August 20th. Leonardo Santos versus Jared Gordon will also be on the August 20th card. Amir Albazi versus Francisco Figueiredo has been added to that card as well. Marcin Tybura versus Alexander Romanov will also be on the August 20th card. And finally on that card, AJ Fletcher versus Ang Lusa. Nasrat Haqparast versus John Makdessi has been added to UFC Paris on September 3rd. Damon Jackson versus Pat Sabatini is a banger, ladies and gentlemen. That one has been added to UFC Fight Night on September 17th. Corey Sandhagen versus Sonya Dong, another banger.
Yep.
Will be headlining UFC Fight Night on September 17th. Dan Hooker versus Clay Guida has been targeted for UFC Fight Night on October 1st. So that is all but official at this point. Randy Costa versus Guido Canetti has been added to UFC's October 1st event as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we have for you in the Sphere.
Okay. That being said, let us look ahead to the future of this coming weekend's MMA events, of which there are many. Let us first dive back into the world of PFL with event number 5, PFL 5 for the PFL 2022 season. There's one fight on this card, gentlemen, that I want to touch on, that being the co-main event in the lightweight division. Anthony Pettis takes on Stevie Ray. Mark, why don't you take this fight first? Give us a little breakdown and maybe a pick.
Yeah, so this fight has big implications. I believe Pettis has already locked up a berth in the playoffs simply because of his first-round finish in his last fight. But Stevie Ray can possibly jump himself in if he wins this one, I'm pretty sure, over House Manfio. He may need a finish to do it. I forget exactly what he needs because they go off the point system of when you get your finish, what round, and that all that. But I'm pretty sure it's either Manfio or Ray, depending how this shakes out, that is getting the last lightweight playoff spot. Odds are fairly close. Ray is plus 160. Pettis is minus 200. It's a good matchup. I think Stevie Ray is kind of on a downswing a bit. There was a time in the UFC where he felt like a bit of a factor, but he tends to get hit a lot. I'm not sure that's a great trait to have against Anthony Pettis. Ray can wrestle. We've seen it before. But I don't think he's the right type of controlling wrestler to shut down an Anthony Pettis. Pettis can scramble. He can threaten with subs, maybe even find a sub. And I don't think Ray is a guy who can kind of prevent those scrambles from happening. So I favor Pettis here. I think that he will get it done. I think it's his fight to win, especially if we are looking at a resurgent Pettis. I know I said this last time. I know there's been a lot of talk about that from his camp, about how this Pettis this year would smoke the guy who was in the PFL last time. We can't 100% say we've seen that yet because it was him against Miles Price, and he was supposed to walk through Miles Price. So if he walks through Stevie Ray, I think it will be safe to say that. And I will say he does find a finish on Stevie Ray in this fight.
Omar, you have a word to say about Pettis versus Ray this coming weekend for PFL 5?
I mean, Anthony Pettis looks good, man. I follow him on Instagram, and most of the shit he posts on there is really just him training and with Duke Rufus and his boxing coach and stuff like that. And he looks good. He looks good. He looks sharp. His timing looks great. I mean, like Mark said, it's really his fight to win. So I'm expecting big things from Anthony Pettis at this point. I kind of expect another first-round finish, if we're being honest. He looked very, very slick in his last fight. I can't imagine if he gets taken down to the ground, he wouldn't be able to deal with it. So I'm hoping he gets it done this weekend.
Okay, boys, any other fights you guys want to give honorable mention to on this PFL 5 card?
I was just going to say one more note here. I mean, it's a solid card. It has a lot of favorites, kind of how PFL does. Brendan Loughnan's on the card, big favorite. Chris Wade, big favorite. Ante D'Elia, big favorite. Bubba Jenkins. List goes on. Lance Palmer's fighting Shaman Moraes. That's actually a close, good fight. Guys that the casual fans likely even know. But I was just going to note, if you want to see a dead body, watch the main event of this fight. Because they are showcasing Bruno Capilosa, who is their heavyweight front runner. And dude he's fighting is very likely going to get smoked.
I think it's, what's the guy's name? Scheffel?
Mateusz
Scheffel. Alrighty. Well, let us now jump over to the Bellator side of the sport. Bellator 282, Mousasi versus Eblen, coming up this weekend, going down at Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut, as Bellator is wont to do. Before we jump into the main 3 fights that we're going to talk about, any honorable mentions, guys, on this Bellator card that you want our listeners and viewers to be aware of?
Well, Kat Zingano will be fighting that night. It's always interesting to see what Kat Zingano brings to the table. She'll be fighting a girl named Pat Sorensen. I don't know much about her, but Kat Zingano for me is always 70, 85% of the time a good time to watch.
Yeah, Kat needs to win that fight. I think Pam is kind of older on the way out at this point. Granted, Kat is getting older too, but if there's any chance of us getting a Kat versus Cyborg matchup, she is going to need to get the job done here and probably look good doing it, so hopefully she does.
Pam Sorensen is 3 years younger than Kat Zingano.
Yeah, but she's 3 years washed-er than Kat Zingano.
Damn.
I actually thought they were like the same age, but yeah.
Damn.
Okay, that being said, let us...
No, I got more.
Oh, please go right ahead.
This is actually a super deep Bellator card. Like, you want to watch this thing. They have Sabah Hamasi, who is never not in a banger, fighting on this card against Mekon Mendonca, I think is how you say his last name, who also scraps, so that should be a brawl. Anatoly Tokov, who I always kind of point out is the obvious second best middleweight in Bellator, yet they just continually ignore him and put him in fights with random guys. I guess maybe they feel like the casual audience hasn't seen him enough. So he's fighting another random guy, and he is going to absolutely win again. And Brennan Ward, who we talked about a lot when he made his comeback, is on this card. Hopefully getting another knockout. He is also fighting someone who's less of a random than Tokov's opponent, but I think Ward will likely get it done. And then the one fight that is a very competitive one before we get into the 3 we're going to talk about is that Brent Primus is fighting Alexander Shabley. I always forget how you say his last name, even though I've watched numerous fights of his now. I think it's Shabley. But that's a good fight. He has looked really good in Bellator so far. He does everything well. He chains his striking and his wrestling. And he knows what he's going to get from Primus, which is that he's going to try to out-grapple him like he does to everyone. So the question is just, can his wrestling deter Primus's enough? I kind of think it can. And he's the quicker fighter, more athletic fighter. So it'll be really interesting to see if he can beat Brent Primus, because if he can, he is going to suddenly be very close to a title shot in Bellator. So I'm looking forward to that fight.
Okay, that being said,
Now we may continue.
In the bantamweight division, one of the many Magos of the sport, the man who gets 2 of those spots, Magomedov, takes on Enrique Barzola in the bantamweight division of Bellator. Omar, take it first. What's your take on this fight?
Pardon.
So Enrique Barzola is the kind of guy that's going to want to scrap with you standing up, and Magomedov is the kind of guy that wants you to do that so he can take you down and destroy you. I feel like this is stylistically probably the worst matchup Enrique Barzola could have for himself. So I'm going to go with Magomedov by destructive decision.
Okay, Mark.
So this one and the next one we're going to talk about are the 2 quarterfinal fights on the other side. We already have a semi between Rafion Stotts and Patchy Mix on one side, and these 2 fights we're about to discuss will determine the other semis in this Bellator Grand Prix. In this first one, Magomedov is the favorite. He's minus 160. Barzola is plus 135. I am really torn on what I want to do here. I've been hammering home on this show how well-rounded Enrique Barzola is, how he's trouble for anyone in there, and I'm tempted to pick him. But in Magomedov, you've still got a guy who in 20 fights has only lost to Petr Yan and Rafion Stotts. So I'm just having a really hard time picking against that. Like, that's a hell of a resume. And his wrestling is so good. His kickboxing is certainly good enough to hang, in my opinion. He's really technical. He's light on his feet. And I think he's well-rounded enough that Barzola's well-roundedness maybe won't be able to shine quite as much as it has against previous opponents. So I don't think Barzola gets stopped. I even trust his cardio more across 5 rounds. And remember, these are 5 rounds in the tournament, so it'll get interesting late. But I'm going to go with a decision for Magomedov.
Okie doke. All right. Staying in the bantamweight division, Leandro Higo takes on Danny Sabatello in Bellator. Mark, let's stick with you here, and let's talk about Higo Sabatello.
So this is wild because the odds on this fight opened with Danny Sabatello. I forget the exact number. It was either minus 150 or minus 160, right? He is currently minus 550. That's how much money has come in on Danny Sabatello. The whole earth is betting on Danny Sabatello.
Dude, he's selling it, man. He's selling it.
He is now minus 550. Leandro Higo is plus 400. And I agree. I think Danny Sabatello is going to eat in this fight. Leandro Higo seems to end up on his back a lot in fights already, and boy, do I expect him to spend some time on it here. He is good off his back, but I don't think he looks that way against Danny. I think the pressure's too much. I can't see him finding a sub or scoring from his back. I think it's going to be more of the same from Sabatello. Takedowns, top control, pressure, pace, constant punches from the top. And I think he wins a clear UD. And I hope if both of the guys I just picked do win, Sabatello and Magomedov, that is going to be a ridiculous matchup in the semifinals.
Omar, you have a word to say about Higo Sabatello?
Yeah, I mean, Sabatello is an animal. I wouldn't pick against Sabatello at this point until I'm really proven to otherwise. Sabatello is an absolute beast, and the man can talk his shit. And boy, do I love it. So, listen, talk your shit, get in the cage, get it done, and let's go. Because you're absolutely right, Mark. I definitely want to see a Magomedov versus Sabatello fight. That fight would be on the ground 100%, and not a moment of it would be spent standing still. So I think it'd be great.
For a tournament that lost Sergio Pettis and then even lost Kyoji early, who was like a star there, if that tournament could end up with Stotts Mix on one side and Magomedov Sabatello on the other side, I think they'd be pretty damn happy with how that still managed to shake out.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, gents, in the main event of Bellator 282, Mousasi versus Eblen, is Gegard Mousasi defending his Bellator middleweight championship against Johnny Eblen. Omar, let me start with you this time. What's your take on Mousasi defending his Bellator strap yet again?
I feel like I had thoughts about this when it was Austin Vanderford. I don't think I'm going to go through that entire tirade again. But we just need to get Gegard Mousasi somebody fucking real to fight. I don't want to disrespect anybody who's put themselves into these positions. This is obviously a huge opportunity for Johnny Eblen. Anything is possible. But this shit is crazy. It's Gegard Mousasi. Why are we not putting Gegard Mousasi up against top tier people? Why are we not proving to the entire world that he is the best middleweight on the planet, or at least doing our damnedest to do so? Because the more people like this you put on his resume, the more people we're going to be like, who? You did who to what? You did what? It's a waste of time for Mousasi at this point, and it doesn't mean shit. It's another paycheck. I get that. Maybe he's just cool with that. But as far as the legacy goes, it's literally just a waste of time, and it's super upsetting. But here we are. Gegard Mousasi by however the hell he wants.
Okay. Solid words from Omar. Mark, agree, disagree? Anything else you want to add?
I will give a slight caution to people who may not be as familiar with Eblen, and this doesn't apply to me. I pretty much view him the same as I viewed Salter and Vanderford and so on. It seems like there is a bit more belief from people I'm hearing and seeing in Eblen as a contender than these previous guys. And the betting odds maybe sort of reflect that. He's only plus 200. I feel like those others may have been higher. I'd have to look back. But he's plus 200. Gegard is minus 250. Personally, how do you not pick Gegard right now? The dude is firing on all cylinders. I mean, he looked unreal against Vanderford. We know he can be beat by someone who can take him down and control him. Obviously, we've seen it in the past. Maybe we're going to learn that Eblen is high level enough to do that, but there is no reason to assume it right now without having seen it proven. And he is generally willing to strike from what I've seen from him, and I think that is a big danger for him. Plus, Gegard, as we know, is someone who can scramble on the ground. He's honestly looked better and better at it as of late, at reversing positions. He gets slept on for how heavy he is on the ground. If he gets on top of you, you're in trouble. But yeah, he's slick as hell, and I just think he presents too much danger. I am obviously picking him. I will say Gegard by TKO round 3.
Dude, until Gegard's experience and Gegard's skill, when put together, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a handful of people that can beat that dude. The only thing at this point that's going to fuck Gegard Mousasi up is time. As soon as this kid's body starts to go on him, that's when you'll start to see him not basically be the Gegard Mousasi that we know. But I don't think anybody skill for skill at this point, I don't think most people skill for skill at this point could give Gegard Mousasi a run for his money.
The thing that worries me is that sometimes I feel like if you keep fighting guys who are not on your level, at some point worse. There's going to be a slip, and you're going to lose someone who you had no business losing to. And I'm going to hate to see that if that happens. I really hope this is the last one. I hope we either do, as I say, I know he's not as known. I think Tokov is worthy of a title shot. I think a lot more worthy than all these other guys. I'd like to see that, or I'd like to see Gegard just go to light heavyweight.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Really, I'd like to see him in the goddamn UFC, but obviously we can't have that. We can't have nice things.
Yep.
There would be so many fights for him in the UFC.
1,000.
And it'll never happen. It is so upsetting. It's so upsetting.
Speaking of the UFC, gentlemen. Ooh, I'm nice. UFC on ESPN, UFC on ESPN 38, UFC Fight Night, I don't know what number, as well as UFC Vegas 57. These are all the same events this weekend. UFC on ESPN, Tsarukyan versus Gamrot. Let's see, it's going down on Saturday, June 25th at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. Let's see, we have in the main event Tsarukyan versus Mateusz Gamrot. But first, let's talk about a few other fights. But before we get into the ones that we are going to sort of dissect a little bit, guys, any honorable mentions or fights or fighters that you guys want to spotlight for our listeners and viewers to make sure that they tune in for these fights this weekend?
There's a few fights. There's a few names on here. I'll let you go, I guess, a little bit more in depth, but I'll just shoot off a couple names. Brian Kelleher is going to be on this card. Howling Paiva is going to be on this card. TJ Brown, Carlos Olberg is going to be on this card. All guys that are, frankly, kind of a good time in there when they get matched up properly. But yeah, those are just a couple of names that I could throw out.
Nice.
Yeah, another big name that I think that you didn't even say is Thiago Moises is on this card fighting Christos Giagos. That should be a good one. I agree about T.J. Brown. I think he has looked good lately. I think that's a name to watch. But, yeah, the one I was going to highlight Kelleher's fighting Mario Bautista, who I like as well. I think that's a good fight.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the one I was going to highlight is Helian Paiva against Sergey Morozov. Obviously, we have seen what Paiva can do. Morozov is the dude who was whooping Douglas Silva de Andrade a few months back until that fight swung wildly. But he gets another chance here against a pretty big name, and we'll see if maybe he can not slip up in this one and jump himself significantly up the ranks.
Okay. That being said, folks, let us dive into a few of these fights. I think we're going to talk about 4 of them. Opening the main card on ESPN and ESPN Plus in the middleweight division, Chris Curtis takes on Rodolfo Vieira. Omar, let me throw it over to you first this time. What's your take on Chris Curtis looking for another win? I believe this would be number 3 for him in the UFC against a very tough guy, very tough jiu-jitsu guy in Rodolfo Vieira.
Yeah, I like Chris Curtis, man. He's not unhittable, that's for sure. But I like him. I like his style. I like the way that he is very tenacious in his approach. Definitely coming to knock somebody out. He's not looking for a decision. It's definitely not the way that he fights. But he's definitely vulnerable in certain spots, and the fact is that he is a beatable person. But the same could be said for Rodolfo Vieira as well. I guess if I had to choose between the two, I think I'm going to go Chris Curtis by knockout round 2.
Mark?
So tight odds on this one. Chris Curtis is minus 135. Rodolfo Vieira is plus 115. I'm not entirely sure what Rodolfo Vieira did to make this kind of jump. And I guess Chris Curtis isn't ranked anymore. I just looked, but he was very recently ranked. I don't know why he fell out. But, yeah, it's kind of a big opportunity for Rodolfo Vieira. But with that said, I think it's kind of an unfortunate matchup for Chris Curtis. I know I've picked against this man every damn time, but I just think Rodolfo can wade through what he needs to wade through, and once he's grappling, the advantage is so huge, in my opinion. He's the bigger guy. He's the stronger guy. Curtis used to be a welterweight. Vieira is a monstrous middleweight. He seems to be improving himself lately. He's fighting calmer. His cardio looks better. I just think he can get inside and find his way to a choke or something of that sort. So I'll go Vieira round 2 sub, and I will say if I'm wrong about Chris Curtis again, I swear I will pick him in his next fight if it's against Ngannou.
I'm actually with you. I think stylistically, I think Vieira is a guy with such a BJJ pedigree that it's going to be trouble for Chris Curtis. So I'm going to go with Vieira by submission in round number 3.
Oh, boy. Omar's going to look either really cool or really fucking stupid.
All right, folks. Marching up this main card for UFC Fight Night Tsarukyan versus Gamrot. In the bantamweight division, Nate Maness takes on Umar Nurmagomedov. Omar, let me start with you this time first. Actually, let's go to Mark this time. I think I started with Omar last time. Mark, what's your assessment of Maness versus Nurmagomedov?
So Umar is a casual minus 1,000 favorite. Nate Maness is plus 600.
Jesus.
Nate Maness is a dog. Such a dog that I honestly feel weird for not even considering picking him here. And I think I'm going to have to sprinkle him at plus 600 because it's kind of wild seeing Nate Maness at plus 600. So I might have to put something on that, but you can't actually pick against Umar Nurmagomedov right now. The man is 14-0. He looks every bit the real deal. I think he only makes that more apparent in this fight. Maness can wrestle. He can scramble. So maybe he makes it so that this isn't easy, but I still think Umar finds it eventually. Maybe in a scramble. I don't think it's like a hold Maness down type of fight. I could be wrong. I'm kind of more seeing like a scramble where Umar catches something, maybe even a club and sub. Something like that. I will say Umar does eventually find the sub round 3.
Omar?
I also agree with you. I kind of agree it's going to be like a like one of those Brandon Royval kind of fights where they're just on the ground rolling around like crazy people. But I don't think this goes 3 rounds. I actually think they get scrappy from the first minute of the bell. I think this becomes a submission round 1. Umar Nurmagomedov.
As soon as the
one.
word 3 came out of my mouth, I actually wished that I had said 2, but too late.
And that is the round that I will go with, gentlemen. We have 1, 2, and 3. We make it complete. It's Nurmagomedov by strangulation, pretty much. Okay, in the co-main event of UFC Fight Night, Tsarukyan versus Gamrot, in the welterweight division, a fun one, Neil Magny welcoming Shavkat Rakhmonov to the upper echelon of the welterweight division. Boy, oh boy. Every time Rakhmonov steps into the cage, I am just salivating at seeing this guy put his skills on display. Omar, let me start with you this time. What's your assessment of Magny Rakhmonov?
I hate picking against Magny because it's almost like never a good decision to pick against Magny. Unless
so curious if you would.
Magny's the guy, like, unless I really think you're about to hit, the top tier somewhere at some point, do I pick against Magny? But this kid looks like such an animal, though. He looks like such a beast.
He does.
And honestly, if you put a gun to my head and ask me, do I think this kid could potentially at least hit the top 5, at least hit it, I would probably say yes. And so with that in mind, I'm going to go with Rakhmonov for the win. But I'm going to give my man Magny his respect. And I'm going to go with Rakhmonov by decision.
Mark?
And that's knowing all the TKOs and finishes he has on display.
So you may be surprised to hear these odds. They're wider than I thought they would be. Rakhmonov is minus 420, and Neil Magny's plus 320.
Wow.
I didn't think
That was rude.
Wow.
I thought it'd be like 2-1. That's big.
Disrespect.
Little disrespectful to my man Magny.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm going to pile on because I'm not picking him either. First of all, it's a perfect fight. Shavkat is 15-0. He looks unbelievable. Let's see what it is. We're going to find out right now. Like we're all kind of saying, Neil is so good, but we've seen Neil be beat, and I truly have not seen Shavkat sweat yet. Like, it's been 3 fights, and he walked in the park through all 3 of them, and I think I actually just pulled up his record. Were they all first-round finishes? No, one went into the second. But, it has not been hard. It's very rare that you see a guy look like he is finishing people with such ease. So it's kind of impossible for me to pick against it. The one interesting point is that they're both very used to having a significant reach advantage because they're both long guys. I think Magny still has it here by 2 or 3, but obviously he's used to having it by more. So that'll be an adjustment for both. Shavkat is the quicker guy, so I think maybe that will help him adjust more than Magny will be able to adjust. And we did just see Neil Magny almost lose a card to Max Griffin. So I got to go with Shavkat here. The potential is too high, and I'll say he finds a finish round 2 TKO.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, it might have been mentioned, and I think it bears repeating. Shavkat Rakhmonov, not only is he undefeated with 15 victories and no defeats, he has not won a fight by decision.
Oh, wow.
All 15 of his professional fights, he has yet to go to the scorecards. He has 8 knockouts and 7 submission victories. My goodness. I think that kind of, Mark, sheds a little light on why the odds might seem a little surprising. They're surprising to me. And I still think that's a little disrespectful to Neil Magny.
Yep.
That being said, this does feel like a little bit of a gatekeeper fight for Neil Magny, stepping into a little
100%.
bit of a gatekeeper role.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to not take Rakhmonov in this fight. And I will, and I think he's going to TKO Neil Magny. Let's go second round.
Same as me.
Neil Magny is a gatekeeper, but the motherfucker is the best gatekeeper that
He
we've
really is.
ever seen.
He really is.
The best.
He fills the role admirably.
I don't think we won't see Neil Magny winning a belt anytime soon.
This is
but
why.
you won't see any bitches in the top 10 of the welterweight division. I can tell you that. Every
Neil
one of
Magny-
them is going to be true, tried, and tested.
Yeah.
Neil Magny has lost 2 in a row only once in his career, almost a decade ago. Since then, he wins a bunch of fights and then loses 1, and then wins 3 more and then loses 1, and he repeats this process. Right now, he's coming into this weekend having defeated Jeff Neal and Max Griffin, 2 good welterweights, and then he's going to go up against Shavkat, and we'll see.
I mean, look at the guys he's lost to, though. Michael Chiesa, Ponzinibbio, Rafael Dos Anjos,
Yeah.
Lorenz Larkin, Damian
Right.
Maia. I mean, these are not. This is not
yeah.
like random ass people that have been pulled off the street. Making their debut and beating Neil Magny. Like, if you want to get to the top 10 of the welterweight division,
Yeah.
you need to go through Neil Magny, and
How
not
many of those-
everybody can.
I'm looking now. I was curious how many of those guys finished Magny. Pretty much everyone you just said.
Yeah.
But-
He's gotten caught in a few of them, especially that Ponzinibbio one.
Yeah.
And the Lorenz Larkin one, he got caught with a nasty elbow on that one.
But
Yeah.
point remains, this is why if Rachmanov does finish Magny, it is, it's time to recognize the guy as a real threat.
100%.
Absolutely. Neil Magny is a guy who has wins over Carlos Condit, Kelvin Gastelum, Hector Lombard, Johnny Hendricks, Robbie Lawler.
I forgot he beat Lawler.
It's a serious
dude.
man. I mean, he beat Lawler in 2020, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
the Lawler run, but still. Yeah. Well, anything else you guys want to mention about this card?
The
this
main
fight?
event could be good.
Sorry. I don't know. My brain was like, that's it. My brain was like, it's over. Jesus. Scary. What's really great about this card is that as good as this co-main is going to be, it has a fucking banger of a main event going down in the lightweight division, that being Arman Tsarukyan taking on Mateusz Gamrot. My goodness, this is the kind of fight that when this fight is announced, the MMA purists, we start sweating and our hearts start beating because these are 2 guys who are both young, up and coming guys in the lightweight division who are just absolute killers. So, Mark, let me ship this over to you first. Give us your honest assessment of Tsarukyan versus Gamrot, and then give us a pick, Mark.
I'll do that. Tsarukyan is a significant favorite here. He's minus 290. Gamrot is plus 230. This is such an interesting fight. Both guys have really managed to make waves in this lightweight division, which is a division historically that it's been kind of hard for guys to break through here. And there's a bunch of these guys right now. We got like 5, 6 young guys who are really knocking right on that door in the lightweight division. And the winner of this is going to be in a pretty spot. They're going to, especially with this being a main event, there's going to be a lot of recognition for the winner of this fight. But what my mind keeps going back to when I break this down, as much as I love the matchup, I think it's going to be competitive, is that Mateusz Gamrot is the kind of good that's like always in a fight, always dangerous, seems to find a way. Whereas Arman is the kind of good that my God, he's so damn good. Like, who is going to beat that guy?
Yeah.
So, the only guy who's done it, if we ignore the second fight of Arman's entire career, which is his only other loss, then the only guy who's done it was Islam Makhachev. And it was a freaking close fight. And it was in Arman's UFC debut. So it's hard not to lean toward him here, at least for me. I'm very interested to see which one of them shines more in the striking. But generally speaking, I expect this to be like a grindy, scrambly type of fight. I don't mean boring grindy. Maybe scrambly is the better word that I'm going for. And I trust Arman more in that type of fight cardio-wise. I think Gamrot has shown some signs before of maybe getting a little too crazy, starting to wear himself out a little bit, where Arman has never shown that. Obviously, it's a 5-round fight, so you got to factor that in. I think Arman is looking more well-rounded, both offensively and defensively, every time we see him. He's so heavy on top. I assume he will get there. Gamrot is filthy on the ground, but I'm not sure he's ever experienced someone as heavy as Arman will be. So I just think Arman is the more capable fighter at the moment. I think both these guys are still growing as fighters, but right now I think Arman is the better fighter. I am going to say he finds a late finish, round 4 TKO for Arman Tsarukyan.
Oh my.
Man, this fight is crazy, man. This fight really could go either way. Both of these guys are very, very active fighters. Both of these guys are not one of those types of fighters to take their foot off the brake or off the pedal almost at any point. And that presents a lot of interesting moments. We're going to have a lot of clashes, a lot of moments where both of these guys are going to try to take control of the fight, and we're going to end up with a lot of scrambles. We're going to end up with a lot of moments where they might even stall each other having to do so. I honestly couldn't really pick one over the other. I think just for the sake of having some fun here, I'll go with Gamrot by decision. Split decision.
Okay.
To be accurate.
I mean, they're so evenly matched, record-wise, attribute-wise. I think Tsarukyan is a little thicker of a guy. You think I'm wrong? You think I'm
No,
right?
I think that's accurate.
Dude, there's something about Gamrot that looks like the kid is made out of steel, though. Like,
For sure.
it just doesn't seem like things hurt him properly. I don't know.
I mean, Gamrot has... He's only... Is he undefeated? No, he's only lost once.
No, yeah.
He's never been submitted.
Kutateladze.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a
Split.
contentious split.
Jeez, man.
I feel like I remember that I did think Guram won, but maybe I'm wrong. I remember it was very, very close.
He's never been submitted. He's never been hurt, or he's never been knocked out. But God, it's just impossible to pick this fight. Just impossible.
Stylistically, it's ridiculous.
I mean, what is it? It's 20-1 against 18-2. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also the way they fight. The way they fight is so it just clashes so well with one another that it's very difficult to sort of line up how one person would really defeat the other. Because
That's
both of them
why
have the tools to do it.
That's why I'm so interested in the striking. Because if they come out and you're like, oh, like so-and-so is getting the better of these exchanges, I could actually see that being like a large factor, even though they're primarily grapplers.
Okay. As much as I want to say, because both these guys are so dangerous that it's going to end in a finish, I'm going to say that these guys are going to respect each other and also plus their skill level is going to go the distance. It's going to go all 5 rounds. And I will give the edge to Arman Tsarukyan, and I think he's going to get the UD. God, that's tough to pick.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's a rough fight, man.
Hey, what are the odds again?
Great fight. Minus 290 for Arman, plus 230 for Gamrot.
Well, all right.
It's actually it's quite a bit, actually.
I was just going to say, I think
plus,
it could
plus
have
290 is kind of a lot there.
Yeah, a little wider than I thought. That's another one I thought would maybe be like 2-1.
Makes it a little bit more of an enticing bet on Gamrot, no?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, boys, we've done it. We've done it again. Let us end this episode with a little bit of MMA trivia brought to you by yours truly. Every week, I am charged with the task of trying to find that sweet spot of MMA trivia for these two MMA diehards that I shared this show with. So here we go. This is what I've crafted for this week. This weekend's UFC Fight Night will be headlined by a couple of up-and-coming lightweights. Combined, the two of them have not logged that much time in the UFC lightweight division. Which UFC lightweight fighter holds the record for most total fight time? Again, in the lightweight division. So this is a divisional question. So what UFC fighter, all time, holds the record for most logged octagon fight time in the lightweight division? Is it A,
Oh, it's multiple choice.
BJ Penn? B, Rafael dos Anjos? C, Frank Edgar? D, Jim Miller, or E. Diego Sanchez?
So when you asked the question, I was ready to say Frankie Edgar.
Frankie Edgar. That was also me, too.
I'm wondering if it's possible, because he's been out of the lightweight division for a long time. He's fought in 2 other divisions. I'm wondering if it's possible for Jim Miller to have passed him.
Yep. I had the same thought.
I'm going to still say Frankie, but I don't. It's one of those. I'll say Frankie.
Because Jim Miller's had more fights at this point, but his fights don't always last very long. Frankie Edgar is almost like a guaranteed five-round fight.
Yeah, that's why I'm sticking Frankie. More main events.
But Jim Miller is like tied with Donald Cerrone at this point.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I'll go with
Final
Frankie
answers.
Edgar. That was my first thing. Frankie Edgar.
Mark?
Frankies.
2 Frankies. The answer is D. Jim Miller.
Son of a bitch.
Damn.
This is crazy.
We were on it. We knew it. We just we couldn't pull the trigger.
This is crazy to think about. Jim Miller, in his career, has logged 6 hours, 3 minutes, and 59 seconds of fight time in the UFC. 6 hours of fight
Frankie's is
time.
like 5, right? It's like 5 hours and change.
What it is total, I don't know. But yeah, Frankie has split all the other guys. I think Jim Miller might have had fights at a different weight class. Has he ever fought at featherweight or welterweight? Ever?
I think he was lightweight all along, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, BJ has fought at featherweight, lightweight, welterweight.
Yeah.
RDA has fought at lightweight, welterweight.
Yep.
Frankie has split time at featherweight, lightweight, bantamweight.
Yep.
And Diego has been all over the place.
Yep.
From middleweight to
Featherweight.
down to featherweight, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what hurt Frankie. I think Frankie would have probably beat Jim Miller in terms of total
Is Frankie
fight time.
second?
I don't know the ranking. It's just his number. I just know who number 1 was.
Got it.
So I thought of other guys who are like long tenured lightweights.
Yeah.
Good for Jim Miller. That's a cool stat.
Yeah,
Most
that is.
time in the cage as a lightweight.
Wait. Yo, Frankie's not even... I just pulled up the list. Frankie's not even close.
Frankie is number 1 all time, though.
Of fight time.
In any...
Frankie is almost 8 hours in the cage.
Holy shit.
Fucking crazy.
8? That's a full work day.
Dude, Frankie's not even top 10 at lightweight.
Oh, wow. Because he spent so much time at featherweight.
I guess.
And now
Dude,
bantamweight.
listen to the top 5 of all time for the UFC fight time. Frankie Edgar with 7 hours and 55 minutes and 11 seconds.
Wow.
Rafael Dos Anjos, 7 hours, 33 minutes and 11 seconds.
Wow.
Damian Maia in third with
No
6
way.
hours and 49 minutes and 40 seconds.
I would have put John Jones there.
Diego Sanchez at 6
Wow.
hours, 37 minutes and 7 seconds. And number 5 is Jeremy Stevens. Who the hell saw that one?
Jeremy Stevens.
6
John Jones
hours
is not in
and
the top
29
5? Get out of here.
John Jones, for
Not
the
DJ?
record, he's... Who? DJ?
Demetrius Johnson.
No, so it's George St. Pierre, John Jones, Neil Magny, and Demetrius Johnson. But they're all...
Magny, too.
I don't even think they're in the top 10 here. 1, 2...
Wow. 8 hours. Holy shit.
Crazy.
That is a full
John Jones is
clocked
14.
in workday.
John Jones is 14, and Demetrius Johnson is 16. Demetrius Johnson is 5 hours, 34 minutes, and 12 seconds. John Jones is 5 hours, 40 minutes, and 15 seconds.
Wow.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, that does it for this episode. It's getting late, and we're all dads. #CatDad. And we got to get to bed. So, folks, thanks again for joining us. If you're on YouTube, one last time, thank you, and go ahead and subscribe to our channel. If you love our content, drop us a comment and let us know what you think about any of our takes on this week's episode. If you want audio only, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, join the conversation on social media @ANU_MMA show. What's so funny?
Omar's
Did you see my
cat walked
cat?
in like, yo, what's up? What'd you say about me?
All right, guys, enjoy the fights this weekend on UFC, Bellator, and PFL, and we will talk to y'all next week.
Inside of 2 hours again. Let's go, baby.
Bam.
Time management. Let's go.
Who's better than us?
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.